Joe Meissner, the man who always asks the mayor, what are you doing for the people who don't come from here? I love you.
And I'm getting better answers every year from the mayor. My question today, I grew up in Cleveland in the 50s and the 60s, and even then we were up there number 6 or 7 in the country.
Amen.
And one of the major problems is that sometimes groups panic, and because some newcomers come in, they leave, and then we get concerns about integration. My question to you is, what are you going to be able to do to reach not only people in Cleveland, because I think all of us understand, but how are you going to reach those suburbs, especially the outer ones, who may have some ideas of prejudice that prevent them from really integrating? And I would like to see an outcome where you've got every city, municipality, etc. in Cuyahoga County that's got this diversity that Cleveland now enjoys, where we have something like 120 different ethnic groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. First, I want to say that we have Rosetta Stones among us. We have that stone, I believe it was Aramaic, hieroglyphics, and I forget, maybe Egyptian, the third language is on a Rosetta Stone. Don't tell Father Stryker at Ignatius, I forgot that. But we have Rosetta Stones among us who I think are able to help us with passports across our border-filled Cuyahoga County. One of them is a guy taking a photo of me right now, Dan Hanson. Let me say something real quick. I was at an event the other night where Dan honored a woman who is a pioneer internationally in Polish radio. Interviewed a man who suffered extreme prejudice and thrives as a reverend from an Egyptian Christian church. Honored Jack Hale, whose mother used to go to the West Side Market when it was closed and pick up the bruised apples so that her son, who was the founder of Manco, the world's largest producer of duct tape, right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, could live. And Dan honored somebody who I thought took more chutzpah to honor than anybody else, which was an African-American Muslim that works with kids in gangs. Dan, I hope you have this on tape. You've got more of a backbone than most people I've met in 45 years. Because Khalid Samad, a black man who practices the Muslim faith, has as much to do with what Joe just said as anything else. And I was sitting in that room, and I grew up in a family where we spoke Slovenian, we spoke English, and we spoke East 74th. And East 74th went like this. And Fannie Lewis and I used to speak, Councilwoman Lewis and I, the late great Councilwoman, East 74th to each other all the time. Where are you from? She was from East 74th. Where are you from, Councilwoman Lewis? I'm from Superior. Where are you from, Councilman Cimperman? I'm from St. Clair. Where do you do your shopping, Councilman Cimperman? I do it at Pick and Pay. Where do you do your shopping, Councilman Lewis? I do it at Helmy's. The languages that we speak, living on the same street, from 2 different cultures and 2 different races, and what Dan and Debbie and their mom were able to achieve inside of that room by honoring Khalid, who is a person who has probably saved more young African-American men's lives from preventing them from killing each other with the proliferation of guns, was extraordinary. And I think, Dan, I'm going to say this to you, and I say this as an answer to Joe, the more that we can create those moments of uncomfortable love is the moment that we start to realize that the person living next door to me is worth a hello when I get out of my subdivision garage before I grab the paper and go home and close my door for the night. I've never lived in Westlake. I've never lived in Beechwood. I've only lived in the city of Cleveland. For a short time, I lived in University Heights, and then I traveled a little bit across the country when I was going to be a Jesuit priest. But what I hope, Joe, happens is this. We had an experience that we're going through still in the neighborhood around Thomas Jefferson under the leadership of people like Councilman Cummins and Dr. Boutros from Metro, where we're working with all of the VOLAGs, the voluntary agencies that resettle the 1,000 refugees in the city of Cleveland. And we're saying to them, if we help rebuild some of these homes that are abandoned around Thomas Jefferson where the kids are already going to school, and we work on projects where we do rentals and home ownership that work for the refugee community with the blessing and the support of Mayor Jackson. How can we show that those people moving into that neighborhood are going to be the reason why, and I'm sad to say this, that in probably 10 years, we won't be able to afford to buy a cup of coffee in that neighborhood? Mayor Jackson taught me something, Joe, and I think you know this from your time with him. Bet on people that society throws away, and you will always get double the return on your bet. Bet on people who are African American, bet on people who are broken, bet on refugees, bet on people who are mentally ill, bet on people who have a problem speaking English, bet on them, believe on them, And the good Lord will show you that that neighborhood, whether it's Central, whether it's Gordon Square, whether it's St. Clair Superior, whether it's Tremont, where you couldn't give land away when I first became a councilman, so people were burning their homes to get the insurance. Bet on the people that people forget, and you will see it come back to you. And my hope and prayer is that as many Slovenians as live in Kirtland now, who are driving around with Trump bumper stickers, for real, right? And here I am, a kid whose mother was treated the way she was, and I hear about walls, and I hear about rapists, and I hear about people who should be surveilled. That is not the America that I want to live in. This is the America I want to live in, and I'm willing to bet you after we come off of our hangover in November, people are going to realize that the only way we get better is by being better. And I would say to you that for my brothers and sisters who live all over the community, I want them to see what we're doing around Thomas Jefferson, because as good-hearted as we all are, we're only going to grow as a region if we become more international and more global. And I know, and you know, it's a lot of show me, don't tell me, right? I'm coming into Global Cleveland as a newbie, but I'm coming to Global Cleveland as somebody who's been living 45 years of a reality in a secret life of always wondering who was going to make fun of my mom's accent when we went to the St. Ignatius Parent-Teacher Conference. That's the person that I want to take care of, so that in 15 years in our community, we don't have those situations because we don't even have to think about it.